Fellas, in today's video, we are looking at the top 10 best characters to play if you are just beginning in Marvel Rivals. Now, presently there's 37 or so odd characters, with new characters coming out every month as of one of the most recent public updates. And that means this will always be changing. Typically with the new heroes, they do take a little bit of time to get accustomed to. So this will be something that you can look at just about any time and it'll be relevant. So what makes a good starting character in Marvel Rivals? That is going to be someone that someone can pick up, play, and relatively do well with. Their abilities are not too complicated and they're not super daunting to actually get accustomed to. So what would be a bad example of this? That would be someone like Mantis. Mantis is rated a 1-star difficulty hero. Mantis is not a 1-star difficulty hero. They are very complicated, mechanical, techy to learn, play well. She'd be a bad choice of that. Same thing with Spider-Man. Often you are not going to be able to pick up Spider-Man the first time you play him. The second time you play him, it'll take you a little while to do well. Same thing with Penny. Penny is also very tricky, very complicated to get well with. So with the bad examples covered, what would be a good example of a hero you could pick up, play, and do well with if you are a beginner in Marvel Rivals? Squirrel Girl. Player to get into the game, and then eventually pick someone else. We all hate Squirrel. So we have Squirrel Girl. She is a great pick of a DPS, which has a ton of characters to give you a lot of learning experience. And she's very simple to play. All you really have to do is stand in one spot with your team and shoot your basic attack in a general direction. Do you need to be accurate? No, you just have to be in the general area the enemy team is. And that's all you really have to do with Squirrel Girl. Very simple, very easy. And then if you play her a lot and you get invested in her skills, she has a secondary attack which will stun an enemy if you hit them. You have a giant nut, so it's easier to do. And she has a leap ability that jumps you up very high in case you want to get to a better vantage point to shoot people from. And then she has her special ability that refreshes your ammo, as well as gives you access to one ability that was on cooldown. Or not on cooldown, it doesn't matter. Plus a very strong ultimate that people don't really deal with, so I think she's a really good choice in that regard. Another great pick is the Punisher. Had a great TV show. The Punisher is very good if you are coming from a FPS type background. He's his skin with his basic attack. He has a shotgun for a secondary type. And as you know with shotguns, you want to be up close and personal and it deals a ton of damage. After that, you have a hook shot to get you around quicker that stays up. You can have 2 at a time. And if you really want to hold a point, you have a giant turret that will help make you immune from certain crowd control abilities and does a ton of damage. So this is someone who can deal with the people that are flying that can be a pain. He can survive some ultimates that way. And speaking of ultimates, you turn into a big Gatling gun user and you just shred the other team. Very simple to play, not super complex. He can look a little bit daunting because he does have quite a bit of a toolkit, but he's not that bad. Now the next character is going to be Jeff the Landshark. Jeff the Landshark, unlike the previous two, is a support character. He heals. Jeff the Landshark is not complicated to use. You have your basic attack, which shoots at a beam that hits multiple of your teammates to heal them. You can dive underground to heal up yourself a little bit and move fast. And you have bubbles to either heal yourself or a teammate, and you get a movement boost. He's a very simple character to use off the bat. He can be very aggressive, very good when you really get technical with him. But as a general character, he's a little shark boy. You swim around, you heal. You don't have to think about too much, don't have to do too much. Very simple, very blissful. He does have an ultimate where you can eat any people within an area who are not blocking that ultimate. And then you just want to dive off the map with everyone in your mouth. Yes, you do die, but that guarantees to kill anyone that you've eaten. He was a big menace in the first or so season. Now this one might seem a little bit controversial, but we do have Venom, who is a Vanguard, a tank. Unlike the other tanks, Venom typically is not going to spend a lot of time in the front line. He is someone that you can swing around and then you dive into the enemy backline. Typically the other supports, you do your basic attack, you do your secondary attack to try to sticky people up, you get kills and you get out. If you don't happen to get kills, you cause some disruption and then you get out. The best part about him is that he has another ability that the lower your health is, so if you're at 100 health remaining, you pop it and you get a ton of overshield. Most of the time you can get up to about 900 or 1000 health. Topped off with his ultimate ability that's very similar. He goes underground and then he pops up and hits everyone within the area, dealing half of their health plus 50 damage. And all the damage you do, you get as overshield. I think he is a great place to start with dipping your toes into Vanguards, although their playstyle typically is very different than how Venom will play. Now, as another support character, we have Cloak and Dagger, and you'll see a lot of people play Cloak and Dagger because she can do a lot of healing as well as damage. Cloak and Dagger has two forms, Cloak and Dagger. Dagger is primarily focused on healing. Her basic attack does deal damage, but she has a healing of effect area with all of her abilities. So if you are trying to heal one teammate, once you hit them, that will heal any teammates that are nearby. And then she has an ability to shoot out a healing wall that is healing over time, as well as a healing bubble that typically you want to save for yourself so that you have some way to keep your health up. And then on top of that, she has her other form with the exact same ability set, just tailored a little bit different. So his basic attack does not heal but does damage, and you don't even have to be that accurate. You just need to have the enemy basically on your screen. You hold your attack button and the beam will auto lock onto them. His wall ability actually does damage and blinds the enemies, and I believe increases the amount of damage that the enemies take. However, instead of a healing bubble, he has a cloak ability that allows you to move a little bit up in the air and makes your team go faster, whoever else you had cloaked. Very simple, very easy to use, but very, very powerful once you do learn them proper. Topped up with their ultimate, which is one of the best in the game. It creates 4 lines that grants healing to your teammates and damages enemies within it. She's going to be one of the most common support characters that you see, and for good reason. And then next up we do have Rocket Raccoon, who is also a support character. What's great about Rocket is for the most part you just hold down your second attack, and that is going to shoot out healing orbs that bounce around and heal your teammates. If you spend majority of the game just holding down that button, you will do fine enough for a very long time. His ultimate recently was buffed, allowing your teammates to do more damage and heal them this time around. Just don't place it out in the open because it can be broken. He also has an extra ability, his BRB, that when you throw it down will give your teammates bonus overshield as well as a super jump ability, and it will revive your teammate if they die and they're in range. Again, don't put that out in the open because it can be broken. He's very small, so he can be hard to hit, and he does have dashes, so you can get away fast or move around fast if you do need. He's a very good character for stalling a point, but where he really does shine, and I think a lot of people don't give him enough credit for, is his basic attack. You rapidly shoot out of your, looks like a Gatling gun, and you deal damage. If you are up close, you deal a ton of damage. I think it's 3 meters. Often you don't want to be there, but if you're in a team fight and your team's winning or you have a lot of supports on your team, that can be a good time to use it. He is someone that can absolutely melt the Vanguards, the tanks. He's a very simple character to learn, but he can be very strong if you play him right. He's also a very, very common character. And then from there, we have Doctor Strange. Doctor Strange can seem very daunting, and he can be very technical, but for the most part, there's only a few things that you'll be doing. One, he's a very good Vanguard to learn how to properly play a frontline Vanguard. You do have your basic attack. It's not that great. It's been nerfed, but it's not the worst. The only thing is you do have to keep track of a bar that you'll see on your screen just a little bit below the center. And once that hits 100, you want to press your whatever button it is. On keyboard, it'll be E. I'm not sure what it'll be on console, but on the bottom right corner when you play him, you'll see what button that is. And that deals a ton of damage to anyone around him, but importantly, make sure that Doctor Strange can keep being healed. He does have a giant shield. It has about 600 health, so you can keep it up for a little bit of time. Don't hold it up forever because it can break and you have to recharge it. But he is very, very defensive, and he can be very strong offensively as well. He does have some other abilities, like he can float in the air, go to the training range, learn to place the teleports, how to move them, how to adjust them, things like that. They can be a little bit of a pain when you first use them and you don't want to be in a match and completely whiff your teleport, but that can be used to block off the enemies from getting to a point. It can get you and your team to a point as well. But Doctor Strange overall is a fantastic character to initially learn to play if you're starting the Vanguard role. From there, we also have Moon Knight. Moon Knight is a duelist, a DPS, similar to Squirrel Girl and Punisher. With Moon Knight, you don't need to be on the front line taking all the damage. What you want to be doing is just pointing at the enemies and throwing your basic attack or your secondary attack. Both are very effective. And what this does is once it hits an enemy, it will bounce to an enemy if they are close by, allowing you to get in a ton of damage and build up your ultimate fast. You also can throw down your Onks, which is a very big part for him. That basically sets up a glowing stick that you can focus on if the enemies are moving around too much for you to keep up with at the moment. You can just shoot that as a stationary, and that'll throw your basic attack or secondary attack to anyone that's close by, dealing damage. He can double jump and glide. Not super useful in combat, but useful for either getting away or to get into a vantage point. But for the most part as a duelist, he's someone that if you want to play a little bit more aggressively, feel like you're actually doing something than just shooting in a general area like Squirrel Girl, he's a very good pick. And then we have Magneto. Magneto is very similar to Doctor Strange. He is a good frontline primary tank. He does have a shield, but it has a short duration. And he has two bubbles that he can either put onto himself or put onto an ally to give a little bit of protection for as well. And then he basically has two attacks. The primary attack, which does fire a little bit slow, so you do have to lead a shot if needed, or just be a little bit more careful with your aiming. And then his secondary shot, which will push back an enemy and deal damage if it's charged up, which it charges up over time, so it should be fine most of the time. The big situation with him is his ultimate. You launch up into the air holding a ball, and then any projectiles that the enemies use, which is going to be a lot, he sucks it up and then you can throw the ball. This can kill supports like Cloak and Dagger in her ultimate, but the ball can break if you soak up too much damage, so don't hold on to it for too long. Also, do let it charge, because if you don't let it charge, it will not be powerful enough to kill someone. He's very simple to pick up and play. He's not that complicated of a character. He's also a great Vanguard to learn how to play the Vanguard role. And then last up, we have Namor. Namor is at the bottom of this list because he is a little bit to keep track of, but he is a very, very good pick and someone that's easy to use. As a start, you have your basic attack where you throw a trident, it does a ton of damage. And you have your secondary attack that throws a trident and does a little bit less damage, but it has a special effect. With Namor, you have two squid turrets that you can throw down. You can place them on walls. You want to place them up high and out of range so people don't shoot them. When you place those down, they will generally shoot at any enemies that come close by. This is good for divers, flankers, things like that, or flyers. But with your secondary attack on your mouse, that'll be your right click on controller, I believe it's the left trigger. When you hit an enemy with that attack, that will focus your turrets to focus on that target, dealing faster attacks. I don't know if they deal more damage, just that they attack a lot faster, and that can melt an enemy. He does have his bubble ability where he jumps up in the air in a protective water bubble. That will keep you alive from everything. And he has his ultimate, which is a giant whale thing that will knock down enemies within an area or kill them depending on their health. He can seem a little daunting if you are starting out, but he is a fantastic and easy character to use. And he is a very, very good pick overall, as he's very, very strong later in the game once you rank up more, and you'll see a lot of him. And then if your squid does die, it is on a timer, so you can throw up another one. Or if you can at the moment, you just have to wait a few seconds and then you can throw up your squid again. So overall, these are the top 10 best characters to pick if you are just starting out in Marvel Rivals. You have a character who, if you basically never played a game before, will be a good pick because you just have to look a general direction and click a button. And then you have a character that's a great pick if you're someone from a FPS type background. Plus, you got some support characters that are good to learn the support role. And you got some Vanguards that are good to learn the Vanguard role. And that's a wrap on this top 10 Marvel Rivals video. Tell me, Do you think my list is wrong, or you think there's a better character that's good for beginners? Let me know in the comments below. And hey, hit that like button if you're still watching, subscribe for more videos like this if you haven't already, and stay tuned for the next one. YouTube thinks you like this video next? Let me know if you do.